The Trans Siberian Orchestra celebrated its 15th year of live shows last year and has consistently ranked in the top 10 for yearly gross revenues and attendance. That is according to the industry trade leader, Polestar. The group has played more than 1,600 shows for more than 11 million fans, and in the process cemented itself as one of the world's biggest arena rock acts. With sales of more than 10 million CDs to date, the Trans Siberian Orchestra continues to rock your senses with an audio and visual spectacle that is second to none globally. This holiday season, TSO will perform their newest rock opera, The Christmas Attic, at 120-plus concerts in 71 days. The tour is being presented by Hallmark Channel. TSO donates $1 from every ticket sold, and that goes to charity. To date, they have donated over $11 million to charity. The website, trans-siberian.com, for tour dates and everything TSO. Producer, writer, guitarist Paul O'Neill started TSO Trans Siberian Orchestra in 1996 and brought smiles and amazement to millions. Now, Paul O'Neill returns to the Marc Berman Show. Please welcome an incredible artist and friend, Paul O'Neill. Paul, how you doing?
Doing great, Mark. Great to hear your voice. Can't believe another year's flown by, and we're to year 16, and, we were just in full rehearsal last night. The band's chomping at the bit. Because I'm just sure you know, Mark, it's fun to write them, it's fun to record them, it's fun to watch them go platinum, but it's, not real till you perform in front of a live audience, and you feel the energy from the audience, which, of course, the band absorbs from the flight deck, and, it helps them to take the music to another level. And, you hear a great solo on a DVD or on your stereo, it's cool, but if you're in an arena, you pick up the energy of the guy in front of you, to the left of you, to the right of you, behind you, and also these days, since every generation, unless you're in your 90s, have rock in common, it's really cool when you watch a father and his 15-year-old kid, rocking out to the same guitar solo, and Mark, it has definitely been a crazy year. I don't know if we got to touch bases on it last year, but at the last second, we got a call from Berlin, Germany, who asked us if we would help them bring in the new year by playing the Brandenburg Gate. And our agent was like, Paul, you got 2 shows the night before. You got the Atlantic Ocean in between you and the next show. You're flying against the clock. You're going to have to turn this down. You can do it another year. I'm like, but what if they don't ask me another year? I'm like, they're talking like 900,000 to 1 million people. I said, I better chance it. So, we did the 2 shows. We had the jets waiting on the tarmac and took off. Thank God the weather was perfect, and we were actually able to finish sound check with an hour to spare. But then, Brandenburg Gate started to fill up, and as midnight approached, we're getting ready to hit the stage, and the German stage manager comes over and goes, Paul, you're not going to believe this. We figured we'd max out at about 1.1 million. We just crossed the 2 million mark. And I'm like, really? And it's, when we, hit the flight deck and we just looked out and it was just people as far as the eye could see. It was very dreamlike, very surreal, and definitely a high point, in my life. And it's, and a great way to kick off the European tour, which went phenomenally. And, then we came back and dove into the studio because we have to deliver the new album to MCA in June, because in July we have to head over to Wacken, which is the biggest rock festival in Germany every year. And then get ready.
But I think this New Year's Eve thing, I think you broke records of all-time records of viewers on TV or something. Like 8 million views of this show.
It definitely, broke a lot of records and set a really high bar. And because I think it was only one other time we played New Year's Eve in Cleveland about 5 years ago, and we were the first band to sell out the Gund Arena on New Year's Eve, and and we did the biggest indoor confetti drop in history, and like tons of it. I mean, you just couldn't see. And it was actually really funny because the next day the Cavaliers were playing, and you know how when the team comes out, they set off a concussion mortar,
sure.
And when it went off, it shook the beams, and the confetti from the night before started to flutter down. And the announcer goes, "Oh, this isn't TSO from the night before. This will be done in a second." And then it just keeps coming and coming. And Barry goes, "We're going to take a 5-minute break." and basically for 5 minutes, all the leftover confetti that they thought they had gotten, but was stuck in various, trussing, up above, fluttered down. So that was kind of cool. And it's been a wacky run, and it's just been great, though, just because, especially the last couple of years, because, you bump into young couples in their 30s with kids who have said, we first saw you when we were teenagers in high school, and now they're back, 16 years later with their kids. And, hopefully 16 years later after that, they'll be back with their kids. And it gives me hope because, one day, Mark, you and I are going to be in the old Rockers home, and with the nurses going to, we have to hear these stories again, and hopefully these kids will let us backstage, and we'll get out of the old folks' home for a couple of hours.
Hey, Paul, The Christmas Attic is your latest masterpiece, and it kicks off November 13th. What's the story behind this show, this Christmas Attic?
In this one, it's basically this child goes into this attic on Christmas Eve, and anyone who's been in an old house where they've been throwing stuff in the attic for decades, if not centuries, knows it's filled with all kinds of really cool treasures that people have forgotten about. And she discovers this old trunk that's filled with letters from the past, and while reading them, she goes on various adventures and sees how people how Christmas has affected people's lives over the centuries, and through it is able to get a glimpse into the future. And like all my stories, Mark, it has a happy ending. If you want a sad ending, you don't need me. Just read the newspapers. And it's
boy, thank you so much, and we thank you for that. Thank you. Boy, do we need you now more than ever. That's true.
Oh, it's just so depressing with what's going on in the Middle East and the Ukraine. God bless. But and then the second half is hits from the other holiday rock operas as well as the non-holiday ones like Night Castle and Beethoven's Last Night.
Sure.
And it's we just can't believe that it's 16 years and still going strong and actually growing. And our biggest fear is simply that we just never want to let the fans down. And it's because the bottom line, the other reason we exist, if it wasn't for them, again, we'd be pumping gas.
You have a huge fan base that spans every generation, and we know this.
And
we know this.
They've been unbelievably supportive, very kind, especially when we've been late with albums and stuff like that. And it's again, we're just unbelievably grateful for them. And it's and as we always say, especially when the new kids join the band, the first thing we tell them is, bands own the band. The minute we forget that, is the minute we start to decline. It's we're here to make the best albums, and the best concerts possible, sparing no amount of time or expense, and then charge the lowest possible price. And and the minute you forget that you exist for the fans, I mean, that's the minute I think you start to decline as a band. I think the same is true for corporations and governments. It's just it's again, they allow us the opportunity to do what we love for a living, and we will be unbelievably grateful for that. And my mother, God bless, who's passed away shortly, is grateful that her son is not starving to death. So, because when I told her I was going to music, she goes, "No, first you go to college, then you get a real job, then you can do your hobby."
Everybody, that's the story from every mom, isn't it?
Well, pretty much. It's.
I got a question.
Yes.
John, Robert, and Al are all out on tour with you. They're all rehearsing and everything. But how many more will you have on stage for this show when people come out and see you? I mean, you have your three basic guys. You got Petrelli there with that incredible guitar. Oh,
I honestly believe
what a guitar virtuoso.
He plays great classical, great rock, great blues. He sight reads, which I do not know any rock guitarist. I mean, the first time I worked with Al, I had this song, and in the middle I was going to Mozart's 25th Symphony, and I was getting ready to show Al the parts, and he goes, "Do you have the music?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's in the wrong key." And I goes, "No problem, I'll transpose as I read." And I gave it to Al, and I mean, Mozart's 25th Symphony is difficult. Al sight read it, transposed it in his mind, and did it in one take, and that's to take this on the album. And I'm like, want to be in a band? He's like, okay. And it's been a great run ever since. And the other thing about Al, for people who don't know him, not only is he an unbelievably great guitar player, he's very generous. He you know, the younger guitar players, he mentors, you know, teaches them all the tricks of the trade. And as I always say, you know, I hand Al guitar players, Al hands me back rock stars. And it's again, just a really classy guy.
We had him on last year. Would you do me a favor?
Sure.
When you see Petrelli tonight or tomorrow, if you remember, would you wish him a happy birthday next week? Because we share the same birthday.
I did not know you shared the same birthday, but I will 100% tell him that. And actually, I will be talking to him tonight, so he will get the message tonight.
You've made hundreds of TV appearances and the band, and you've performed on many shows. When stagehands and people see on the list that, oh, we have TSO coming in, do they start shaking when they have to set up your set, just even for a TV appearance?
No, because over the years, you know, our crew pretty much has stuck with us, and so we've gotten to know the local crews as they've gotten to know our crews, and they've become part of the family. And you know, we're totally serious about it, you know, because it's like, it's, you know, in TSO, it's not just the people on the flight deck, it's, you know, the crew are considered band members. First one's in, last one's out. They have the hardest job. But, and I mean this seriously. I mean, it's also, you know, the cleanup crews from the arena, you know, because of people like that we're not, you know, slipping on beer or, you know, vomit from last night's hockey game. And it's,
right.
You know, the bottom line is it's everybody working together. And because individually we're all finite, we're limited, but everybody together, you know, working towards one goal, there's, you know, nothing that we can't do. And it's, which is, you know, it's the great thing about humanity, you know. You know, they look at the big picture, and, you know, and work together. You know, again, I'll never forget when I was a kid, and John Kennedy said, you know, we're going to put a man on the moon and have him back by the end of the decade, and then we did it. And it's,
right,
you know, that kind of, you know, optimism, you know, that came out of, you know, the 50s and the early 60s. You know, I believe that we can get back to that. You know, and it's. You know, we're definitely going through some bumpy times now, but, you know, as humanity, we always seem to do that, you know, and
that's true.
And, you know, but then we always pull our act together, and we have to do it. It's, you know,
that's true.
No other reason, just because we all have kids, and, you know, our parents definitely, you know, gave us a better world than they inherited, you know, because, you know, God bless my dad, you know, fought World War II, Normandy to Berlin. You know, stopped Hitler, you know, stopped, you know, Tojo, and beat the Great Depression, and allowed us all, you know, to go to sleep at night, never worrying about if we were going to have food or, you know, some foreign country was going to invade us. And I think we have a duty to deliver a better world to the next generation. You know, I'll never forget, once I was in Burma, and there was a memorial to the British and American troops that had died there. And it was very simple, very poignant. It said, we gave up our tomorrows so you could have your todays. And it makes me so angry at some of these, you know, embezzlers that messed up on Wall Street. You know, they basically, you know, sold our kids tomorrows so they could, you know, have extra zeros in their bank accounts. And it's like greed without purpose. I mean, if you were 18 and I gave you $1 billion and said, spend like a drunken sailor, you couldn't spend it in your lifetime. And it's, you know, I remember my grandmother saying, you know, Paul, money's important, but what's more important is how you get it and then what you do with it. I'm like, okay, Grandma. When you be cutting your hair? I'm like, I don't know, Grandma. It's, you know, she was just this great, you know, wise old Irish woman.
I only have a couple seconds left with you. I got to ask you, Greg Hildebrand, still with you?
Oh, absolutely. Just saw Greg yesterday.
The best?
I love him. He is the artwork for the new, you know, tour programs, unbelievable. And I'm just in awe of that guy. It's again, he's like something that has escaped from Oz, and we're just lucky to have him with us. And you know, it's the funny thing is I always worshipped him when I was growing up as a kid, and you know, because between the original Star Wars poster, you know, mainly because of all the Lord of the Rings illustrations, but then never thought that I would be lucky enough to have him as the band's artist. And it's, you know, he'll listen to a song, and then it's kind of like he's in my head. He just gets it, and he just does these illustrations that just put you there. And you know, God willing, you know, Greg will be with us for many, many years to come.
I got about a minute left. Paul O'Neill, you're between November 13th and January 4th. I think you got 12 days off, but you're off Christmas Day. Where will you spend that?
100% at home, and no matter where we are, you know, we always got to get home because, you know, I was 16, and you know, I can't believe it's just like how time flies. And I was never aware of time going by until I had my daughter, and it's and I'm like, wow, when did she become 16? Where was I? I mean, it's just like I blinked, and you know, I still look at her, I just see this little baby, and it's just you know, and I only have the one, and you know, my parents, you know, God bless my dad, how he raised 10 kids with my mom blows my mind. It's the older I get, the more in awe of him I am. And again, one of my favorite things is, you know, I was the second oldest, but I'll never forget. We were all sitting down to dinner once, and my mom goes, "We got 10 of you. We could lose 2, and we're perfectly fine." We're all like, "They mean you. They mean you." And but you know, Irish Catholic. It was just a great way to grow up.
Paul O'Neill, I have to say that you are just, as a human being, you're caring, you're warm, you're friendly, and what you have as your soul that comes out in your music and your performances. And when people go to a TSO performance, it's not just a band, it's a spectacle. And you bring it. And you know what? I'm just so honored to have you as a friend and know you and what you bring to the world. You're just a great guy, and I appreciate that you spent a few minutes with us again on the Marc Berman Show.
No, Mark, it's been totally our pleasure. You know, you've always, like, I'm going to have to get rid of my publicist and hire you. It's like, you know, it's, again, you're a prince and a gentleman, and again, you got to come backstage. We could have dinner and talk music, politics, life, and we'll just order extra ribeyes.
Yeah, we did that 2 years ago here in Atlantic City, but I'll tell you what, we hope to get up to Philadelphia on December 23rd. For my audience, he's got to go because he's got more people to talk to. I want to talk to you off air for a second, but he'll be in Philadelphia with TSO on Christmas Eve. That's December 23rd, and he's doing 2 shows, 4 and 8 at the Wells Fargo Center. Get up there to see TSO. Paul O'Neill, hold the line. I'm going to talk to you off air to my listeners. Here's a little taste of TSO.
Hi, this is Paul O'Neill from the Trans Siberian Orchestra, and you are listening to the Marc Berman Show. Don't touch the dial.